The restaurant shimmered with golden light, laughter, crystal glasses, and whispers of expensive perfume filling the air. But at a corner table, Lena Avery sat alone, staring at her reflection in the silver spoon beside her untouched plate. She dressed up tonight, not for herself, but for her ex-fiancé's engagement dinner. The man who had once promised forever had replaced her within months. She wasn't invited to the dinner, but fate had other plans. Her best friend had begged her to come, to prove she'd moved on. But now, standing outside the restaurant, trembling, her courage was slipping away. Her heart pounded as she watched through the glass window. There he was, Derek, laughing, holding the hand of the woman he'd chosen instead. Lena turned to leave, but then she saw him. A man in a black suit, tall and effortlessly calm, stepped out of the elevator with a phone pressed to his ear. His tone was sharp, authoritative, but his eyes, they carried exhaustion. He ended the call and sighed, glancing around the room, clearly waiting for someone. And that's when Lena, desperate, hopeless, and trembling, made the craziest decision of her life. She approached him. "Excuse me," she whispered. He turned, his expression guarded. "Yes. Can you?" She swallowed hard. "Can you pretend to be my date? Just for tonight?" The man blinked, stunned. "I'm sorry, what? I know it sounds insane," Lena rushed. "But my ex is here, and I need him to see I'm okay." He looked at her for a long, silent moment, and something in her eyes stopped him. That raw, fragile look of someone fighting not to crumble. Finally, he sighed softly. "All right, for tonight." Her breath caught. "You'll do it." A faint smile curved his lips. "I've had worse business proposals." And with that, he extended his arm. "Shall we?" Sparkles, the pretend date begins. Heads turned the moment they walked in. Lena held her head high, clutching the stranger's arm like it was her lifeline. The ex nearly choked on his drink when he saw her. "Lena? You brought someone." She smiled sweetly. "Oh yes, meet, the man smoothly interjected. "Ethan Hale." Derek's eyes widened. "The Ethan Hale? CEO of Hale Industries." Lena froze. "CEO?" Ethan offered a polite nod. "Pleasure." Derek stammered. "Of course, yes, of course." Lena tried to keep breathing. She just asked a billionaire to pretend to be her date. As the dinner continued, Ethan carried their act flawlessly. He told charming stories, laughed at her jokes, and treated her like she was the most fascinating person in the room. Every time she faltered, he'd gently squeeze her hand beneath the table, a silent reassurance that she wasn't alone. At one point, Derek's fiancée said with a smirk, "You two seem close." Ethan smiled coolly. "We are." His gaze softened toward Lena. "She's the best part of my week." Lena's heart skipped. The words were fake, but they didn't feel like it. When the dinner ended, Derek looked uneasy, his confident smile gone. As Ethan helped Lena with her coat, Derek called after her, "Lena, you look good. I'm glad you're happy." She smiled, finally meaning it. "I am." Outside, under the city's soft drizzle, she turned to Ethan. "You didn't have to go that far." He smiled faintly. "You looked like someone who needed a miracle." Tears welled in her eyes. "You have no idea how much this meant." He shrugged, hands in pockets. "Maybe I needed it too." Cloud with rain, two broken strangers. They stood there for a moment, two souls who had met by accident, yet somehow saved each other. "Can I buy you coffee?" she asked, voice still trembling. "It's the least I can do." He smiled softly. "Coffee sounds perfect." And just like that, what began as a desperate favor turned into something else. Something that neither of them could name yet, but both could feel. Because sometimes, kindness hides in the strangest moments, and strangers carry the healing we never knew we needed. The next morning, Lena thought she'd imagined the whole thing. But then her phone buzzed. "You forgot your scarf last night. Coffee again." "Iaka." She smiled. They met at the same cafe from the night before. Only this time, there was no pretending. Just two people, quietly figuring out why fate had chosen that exact night for them to collide. "You helped me," she said softly. "You didn't even know me." Ethan stirred his coffee. "You reminded me I still have a heart." Hot beverage revealing the scars. Over time, the truth came out. Ethan wasn't just any CEO, he was a single father. His wife had died 3 years earlier, leaving behind a daughter, Clara, and a hole in his soul he'd never filled. "I buried myself in work," he admitted one evening. "I forgot what kindness felt like until last night." Lena's eyes softened. "Then maybe I was meant to remind you." He smiled. "And maybe I was meant to protect you." It wasn't romance yet. Just two broken hearts stitching each other together through small kindnesses. He helped her get a new job at a design firm. Not out of pity, but because he'd seen her portfolio and believed in her talent. She started visiting his office sometimes, bringing Clara little sketches and hot chocolate. Slowly, laughter returned to both their lives. Sunrise when pretending turned real. Months later, Ethan invited Lena to a charity gala. "No pretending this time," he said with a grin. When she arrived, the room seemed to fade around her. Ethan stood by the stage, speaking about kindness and second chances. Then he looked right at her. "There's someone here who taught me both," he said into the microphone. "Someone who reminded me that pretending to be strong is not the same as being loved." Gasps filled the hall as he walked toward her, holding a small velvet box. "Lena Avery," he said softly, "you asked me to pretend to be your date for one night. But every day since then, I've wanted it to be real." Tears filled her eyes. "Ethan, I don't want to pretend anymore," he whispered. "Not when I've found the person who makes life real again." He opened the box. Inside was a silver ring shaped like two interlocked hearts. Lena laughed through her tears. "You're insane." "Completely," he smiled. "For you." She nodded, unable to speak, and the room erupted in applause. Sun behind small cloud, the final scene. Later that night, Lena stood by the window of Ethan's penthouse, watching the city lights flicker below. Clara ran up to her, clutching a crayon drawing. "Daddy says you're going to stay forever. Is that true?" Lena knelt, hugging the little girl tightly. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere." And when Ethan wrapped his arms around them both, she finally understood. That one act of kindness, that one night of pretending, had given her a life she never dared dream of. Clapperboard call TO action. 4 faceless ending narration. Sparkling heart, she just needed someone to pretend for one night, but he showed her what forever really feels like. Cloud with rain sometimes. The smallest act of kindness can turn strangers into soulmates. Red heart if this story touched your heart. Like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories that prove kindness is never wasted.